Okay, welcome to Yeshiva YouTube, Just Daf It, the special Motzei Shabbos edition of Just Daf It. We're doing Nazir Daf Mem, number 40. I have got my Purim costume on, part of my Purim costume on. I got this beard, so I got to get a mustache. And I've got the famous yarmulke over here. You have to see this. It says, Yechi Adonenu Morenu V'Rabbeinu Melech HaMashiach La'olam Va'ed. If you don't know what this is, you're not familiar with Mesheches. I learned a new word this past week. A Mesheches. The Mesheches means someone who believes that Lubavitcher Rebbe is Mashiach, part of the Chabad. I don't know what percentage of Chabad people actually believe it. Maybe some of them are not sure. But there are some that definitely believe it. And they have these yarmulkes, which are sold in pretty much every Judea store in Jerusalem. It's only 15 shekels, so I got it. And I got a beard from my sister-in-law from Amazon, which it feels good to stroke the beard, you know? I mean, that's the one thing that I regret about not growing a beard is that I can't stroke the beard. It's fun, it looks fun. It's actually really fun to stroke a beard like this. So I highly recommend it. But I don't recommend getting a beard, but you know, if you want to get one, the one advantage of a beard is you could stroke it a lot. Anyways, this is I'm gonna be my shekhes on Purim, giving out dollar bills to people who know trivia questions about the Lubavitcher Rebbe's life. And I have a special where I introduce some new clothes, some new merch that the Lubavitcher Rebbe would love. It's related to the Lubavitcher Rebbe. Surprise. It's going to be nonstop entertainment. You're going to want to check out all the videos that I do on Purim, related to Purim. We'll put out some good stuff, some good shorts, maybe a long-form content. Let's get started. Daf Mem, we're starting about 5 lines down, 6 lines down. The words Amar of Chisda. Amar of Chisda, lakos ba'achas. In order to get malchus for violating your Naziros, you're not allowed to shave even one hair of your Naziros. So you can call me a Nazir, maybe also. Beard, Nazir would have beards like this. They also have very long hair. So if you shave even one hair I take off, I get malchus for that. La'akev b'shnayim. At the end of the Naziros, a Nazir shaves his entire beard. So when you shave your entire beard and your hair, so if you leave over even 2 hairs, you leave over 1 hair, it's not a problem. But if you leave over 2 hairs, you haven't fulfilled the mitzvah. Lister and Asosel Barov Rosh. However, mentioned that if you get a haircut, we mentioned in Daf Lamed yesterday, that if you get a haircut, it's soser, right? According to the Rabbanan, it dismantles your entire Naziros. You have to start counting again. Well, maybe only 30 days. Eino soser el barov rosho. You have to shave most of your head. So even if you shave most of your head, right? So if you shave part of your head, or even up to half of your head, right? It doesn't make a difference. It's not soser until you do most of your head. Ubitar, and all these halachos only apply with a razor, right? Even though you think using a scissors does not violate. Apparently, you don't violate the issue of shaving for a Nazir. If I just take scissors and cut my beard or cut my hair, it has to be done with a razor. We're going to talk about that today. So the Gemara asks, "Bitar imidi achrini lo." You can only do it with a tar. You violate the Assyrian Nazir. We said yesterday, Brisa, anything which takes off hair, you would violate your Nazir. So it means similar to a razor. Now, it's very unclear what this means, similar to a razor. We'll discuss today, with Ben Sion, we're going to discuss Norelco lift-in cuts. If you ever were a Jew and wondered whether you could use a Norelco lift-in cut, this is actually halacha l'maisa. For a lot of people buy the Norelco lift-in cuts and they take out the lift-in cuts because they're not sure if you could use it. Moshe Feinstein was unsure. Actually, Moshe Feinstein said that you shouldn't use a lift-in cut, but I think Rosh Shlomo Zalman Auerbach said it's okay, or maybe I'm vice versa. I'm not sure. It's a machlokas in the poskim, and the Gemara actually talks about lift-in cut. Did you know that? Well, you're going to find out today. An interesting interpretation in the words of the Gemara that you probably were not aware of. So this halacha is, when it comes to all the halachas when Naziros about shaving your head, it's either a razor or a ke'en tar. Ke'en tar, the Gemara leaves ambiguous, doesn't tell you what ke'en tar similar to what a razor is. We'll talk more about that in Yot Ben Sion. Tanya Mihachi, Nazir shetalash mireit sifsef kolshu. Eno soser el barov rosho uvitar. They have a brisa like this. Nazir, he takes off, or he plucks one hair, or mirate, right? He puts the lapatory clean with sif safe, even he plucks part of a hair. Kolshu, Eno soser el barov rosho, doesn't make a difference, doesn't dismantle the entire Nazirus, at least the growth of 30 days, unless you shave most of your head. Shaving a couple hairs is not a big deal. Uvitar, and with a razor. Rabbi Shimon ben Yehuda Omer, Rabbi Shimon because Shem Sheshes Saros Makvos Bokach Sheshes Saros Sosros. Well, he's Makmer. We don't pass like him. That just like at the end of your Nazirus, if you leave over cutting two hairs, you have not performed the mitzvah of Giluach at the end of your Nazirus, of shaving at the end of your Nazirus. So too, if you want to be so serious Nazirus, even right taking off two hairs is so serious Nazirus. It dismantles it. It's not Hassam. Shlosha we Mishnah Mesachas Nagarim. Shlosha Megachin Tkulachsan Mitzvah. Tkulachsan Mitzvah. It's hard to pronounce words with this beard. Three people are shave. It talks about shaving, and their shaving is a mitzvah. In fact, Nazir and Mitzora v'Levim. A Nazir at the end of his years he shaves. A Mitzora, someone who has saras, at the end of his purification process for the saras, he also shaves not only his head, but his entire body. Levium, and Levium also, which talks about it in Sefer Bamidbar, when they were inaugurated as Levium the first time, they also had to shave their body, much like a Masorah. Nowadays, Levium don't have to do that. The Mishnah says that anyone who used anything but a razor, or they left two hairs, right? If you leave one hair, it's okay, but it's not good. So you have to use a razor, and you have to make sure to leave the minimum is one. The maximum is one hair. If you leave two hairs, it's not good. Amar Mar, Shlosh Megachin Lachas on Mitzvah, Pshita. Three people do Giluach, and that's Lachas on Mitzvah, Pshita, obvious. Right, it's obviously a mitzvah. The Torah says in these cases, talks about all three of these cases, Nazir and Mitzvah, and the Levium doing shaving at the end of their procedure. You might have thought Mishum Avuri Sarhu. You might have thought when it says a mitzvah, the mitzvah is just it's the result to make sure there's no hair there. Afilu Sach Nasha, even if you put the lapatory cream, it would be okay. Kamashma and Delo. No, cream is not good. It has to actually be an action where you have to take it off with a razor. Or like the Gemara said before, Kain tar. I'll discuss exactly means similar to a razor. Kasani v'chulan shagilchu shalo bitar. Right? The Brisa says, or the Mishnah says, anyone used without using a razor, right? It's not effective. Vishlamagavi Nazir ksiv tarli overall rosho. Right? It says by Nazir, he's not allowed to shave his head. Right? And we learned yesterday, right? The pasuk continues, right? Tarla Yaval Rosha Ad Yemei Molos, right? He can't shave his head until he finishes. But when he finishes, that's why the pasuk says tar, to show you that when you finish in his ears, you do shave your head. And what do you shave it with? You shave it with a razor. The Gabe Levium Ksiv. And by Levium it says, Veviru tar al kol besaro. It says in Bamidbar that at the end, when they were inaugurated as Levium, they shaved their entire body. Masoro bitar minal. How do you know Masoro? We know the Torah says he has to giluach, he has to shave. How do you know it specifically has done with a razor? Maybe you'll learn from Levium. Ma Levium shken tunin tekalachas. Vein tekalachas on elabitar. Just like Levium, right? It says in the pasuk tar, it says razor. Afaniya vias and Masoro shutan tekalachas vein tekalachas elabitar. Right? They're both mitzvos. Right? One is with a tar. So the memat, just like in that case also, we'd assume also where it's unspecific by Masoro, it should also be only with a razor. So the Gemara says, no, you can't learn one from the other. You can learn Mifrach. I have a rebuttal. Mal Levium shekain tunin tnufa begufam. Levium are machmir, right? Their process is a more machmir, it's a more stringent process, right? They have to be waved, physically waved. Imagine picking up the Levium, imagine a heavy Levi. You have to pick them up and wave them, right? Torah Mitzvah, the law. A Mitzvah, when he completes this process of purification, does not have to shave. It does not have to be waved. El Taisim Nazir, fine. So you can't learn it out from the Levium, at least learn it out from Nazir. Mal Nazir, Nazir we know, right? We just proved the pasuk on yesterday's daf that the concluding ritual is done with exclusively a razor. So too also you should say the same thing by Mitzvah. Whereas Mal Nazir, you can't learn from a Nazir, you can't carbonate tone and lechem. Nazir has a stringency that when he brings his korban on the end of his naziros, he has to bring bread with it, which we don't find too many times in the Torah. Mitzvah doesn't need have that stringency. Ela mechadalas. We can't learn it from Levium independently. We can't learn it out from the Nazir independently. Mitarvayim, Tasi Mitarvayim, learn from both of them together. Mahai Tasi. How would that go? Which one would you learn from? Tasi Levium. To learn it independently from Levium. Mal Levium Shken doing Tenufa. They have a stringency that they have to be waived. The Gufa. Nazir Yochiach. But Nazir proves you don't need that, right? Nazir uses a tar, uses a razor. It doesn't need to be waived. Mal Nazir, but you can't bring from Nazir. Can't go on a Tom Lechem. They have a stringency. They need to bring bread with their karbanos at the end of their naziros. Levium yochichu. Levium don't. So Levium should prove you don't need that. Because they're din. Each proof is not a conclusive proof. However, asara shahen shehein tunin kalachas v'tagalachas betar afani avias masora should tell galachas v'tagalachto betar. So the common denominator between Nazir and Levium, right? They each have their own stringency. However, the common denominator is that there's a mitzvah to do giluach, to shave, and the mitzvah is specifically done with a razor. So I'll say also by mitzvah where there's an aspect of giluach, of shaving his head and his body at the end of the purification process, should only be the razor. So the Gemara rejects. Amalei Rav Barnish Ravashi. Rav Barnish says to Ravashi, "V'lifroch mala sara shavish behen shekain ein karbona bedalos." The Gemara says none. You can't learn it from the common denominator because there's another problem, right? Nazir and Levium have one stringency that apply to both of them that doesn't apply to a Mitzorah, right? They have a common denominator stringency, so you can't do another because Mitzorah has a leniency. What's the leniency by a Mitzorah? Leniency is by a Mitzorah if he's a poor Mitzorah and he purifies himself. Instead of having to bring a korban as a lamb, he can bring birds. Which because it costs less to bring birds as a korban. Tomer b'mitzorah shekorban b'dalas, right? He has a different type of korban if he's poor. Amrle Rava, so Rava says, Bar Misharshi al Rava, Haitana mikara amar l'lamdom mitzorah yafshar shein danan kal michomer lahachmir alav. So the Gemara notes a difficulty. On the top of Mem and Aleph, the way we concluded yesterday's daf, right? The Gemara tried to learn. We're trying to learn that a Mitzorah uses exclusively a razor when he does his giluah, when he shaves at the end of his purification process. And the Gemara says you can't learn from Mitzorah. Mitzorah is more machmir. Mitzorah is chomer. It's more stringent than a Nazir, right? Why is Mitzorah more stringent? The reason a Nazir is more stringent is because, what did the Gemara say? What did forgot the reason the Gemara said. I don't remember exactly the reason the Gemara said, but the Gemara said the reason that yesterday we said that you can't learn from Mitzorah because Mitzorah has a stringency which a Nazir doesn't. Hadar Amar, and now we're saying Neilif Medina, and now we're saying learn it the opposite. Medina Nami Lo Yalif, right? And now we seem to be implying now that you can't learn from Nazir and Levium to a Mitzorah because a Mitzorah is more makel. A Mitzorah has his kula, that he has dalas, that he has a leniency that he doesn't have to. He has a leniency in terms of the fact that his korban switches when he's poorer. So there's a leniency. So what are you trying? Before we were saying that a Mitzorah is more machmir, right? And now we're saying that he's more makel. So what's going on over here? Amar le'ahum aliba d'Rabbanan. Ha aliba d'Rabbi. The Gemara says no. We have a machlokes Rabbanan and Rabbi. We'll see in a second. So according to the Rabbanan would learn that an ashram, a Nazir, is really more stringent than an ashram, than a Mitzorah. And Rabbi is going to learn, no, that a Mitzorah is really more stringent than Nazir. This nan, what's the machlokas? This is a machlokas when it comes to shaving your beard. If you have a beard, this is a machlokas quoted in Maseches Makos. when you have a beard, right, you're not allowed to shave your beard. This is where we talk about shaving a beard and stuff like that. That's the reason why Lubavitch Hasidim grow their beards long, because they hold you can't even touch your beard. You can't touch your beard at all, even though the Torah says, right, you can't be mashkas your beard, you can't destroy it. You can't. So the pasuk says, right, it said, we'll see, is that you can't be mashkas your beard, implying that you should shave your beard, not that you can't shave it. But how do you violate the isser of bal tashkas, right, of shaving your beard? There's two psukim in the Torah. One is, right, giluach. We'll learn this in a second. One is ashkasa. There's not veno chayiv achil teno betar. You're only chayiv if you remove it with a razor, according to the Rabbanan. Even if you shave your beard with a malakid for hitni. And what does malakid for hitni mean? So the article translates malakid for hitni as meaning some sort of plane or something like that. Not an airplane, different type of plane. I don't know, some type of something similar to a razor. My explanation, which I'll elaborate on Eoth Ben Sia, malakid for hitni. Malakid means to pluck. Malakid for hitni. Hitni sounds like rotate. Lift and cut. You ever heard of lift and cut? Lift and cut malakid. It lifts, plucks it up, it picks it up, or the hitni, it rotates and it cuffs, right? It's a rotating blade that cuffs it, that cuts it. So that's what malakid hitni means. That's machlokas. It's machlokas. You thought it was machlokas Rav Moshe Feinstein or Shlomo Zalman Auerbach. No, it's machlokas tanoim. The Rabbanan say you don't violate. You're allowed to use lift and cut, and Rav Elazar says you can't use lift and cut. My Tanai the Rabbanan. What's the reason the Rabbanan they allow it? The Sanya zikno. It says your beard. Matam Olomar. The fish nemar. This is a pasuk when it comes to shaving a metzora. He has to shave his entire body, any place with his hair, and it mentions specifically his beard. Why does it say beard? It says when it comes to Kohanim, which also applies to Israel, right? Kohanim should not shave their beards. Yachal afilu metzora can. You might think of metzora also. Talmud Omer zikno, right? You know, when you complete your metzora process, so you're shaving every part of your body, including your beard. Even though normally a Jewish man is not allowed to shave his beard, not allowed to destroy his beard, use a razor. Talmud Omer zikno. That's why it says zikno, to tell you that right, this is the way that Rabbanan learn, that even though normally a person who's not a metzora would not be allowed to shave his beard with a razor, right? You're not allowed to use a razor. Here he is allowed to use a razor. How do you know it's talking about a razor? The Rabbanan say, how do you know it's specifically talking about a razor? How do you know even if you might think even if you use scissors to cut your beard, you're chayav. It says tashkes, the hashkasa. When you cut with scissors, you leave over some of the hair. You might still say if you take the whole thing off with a plane, not with a razor. I don't know exactly what a plane is. We'll explain it according to the article. It has to be something which is derech giluach, the way people normally shave. And people normally shave either with a razor or with scissors. A trimmer is something like scissors, but no one really shaves with a plane or something like that. According to my explanation, it would be no one shaves with a lift and cut. It's abnormal. Most people in the world, when they shave, they use razors. So that's explicit according to the Rabbanan. It means a tar. So according to the Rabbanan, who say that the only isser of shaving your beard, a regular Jew is shaving his beard, is with a razor. You can't use a razor. So therefore, it goes by metzora, and it says zikno to tell you, right, that because the mitzvah of metzora is to shave your beard at the end of your tzaras with a razor, so normally it's usher to do that, but the completion of your tzaras is mutter. That's the whole point. That's why it specifies the word zikno, and that's how we know that shaving your beard at the end of tzaras, when you purify from being a metzora, is specifically with a razor. That's the Rabbanan's proof. According to Beliezer, you can't learn that. But according to Beliezer, right, he holds it's even usher to shave malakid for hikni. So there's no way of proving that by a metzora it has to be with a tar. Maybe it's talking about malakid for hikni, and that's why it says zikno. So the Gemara tries to rebut this proof of the Rabbanan. How do you know the Rabbanan make a good inference? I'll tell you, The mitzvah by Mitzorah is not specifically with a razor. Maybe even if you do it with a plane, it's also he's doing a mitzvah. Maybe you could do it in two ways. Maybe you could do it with makim or a tar. Why does it go out its way to say the word tar, zikno, to tell you that even if you were to do it in the other way, then it would be okay. But you don't have to do it that way. All right? So it could be there's no mitzvah to specifically do it with a razor. Amris, they answered back, if you say you could do the mitzvah even with a makim hitni, lishta kramine. The pasuk should not say the word zikno. You don't need the word zikno. The anamino magabi nazir these surah kavid. A nazir does an isser. Taking a zero is usually usher, right? Because you forbid yourself from wine. I feel hakim mechayev. Nonetheless, the end of his naziros, he's chayev to use a razor and to shave his beard. Hacha the mitzvah here where Mitzorah did nothing wrong, right? Lo kol shekan, certainly he should be able, right, to use a razor to shave his beard. V'su, another proof. Isak adaitach on top of Mem Aleph Min Aleph ki avid b'lahakit for hitni mitzvah kavid midlok siv tar, right? Because it doesn't say the word tar by a Mitzorah. Kareish Lakish. Nonetheless, we'd still apply Reish Lakish's statement. The Amar Reish Lakish says kol makom shata motzei essay velosa say. If you find an essay and say yavata yachal l'kayim eshtei mutav, right? V'imlav yavo essay v'yedches losa say, right? What do you want to say? You want to say that really Mitzorah can use even malakit for hitting some type of plane, which is not exactly a razor, it's some type of blade which is similar to a razor, but not exactly a razor. So, but if he does a tar, if he uses a tar, then it's not an isser. He didn't do an isser of using a razor to shave his beard, right? Reish Lakish says no. There would be no heter to use a razor in that case, because if I could do it in a permissible way with a malakit for hitni, so we wouldn't say essay docha losa. We would say the mitzvah of shaving your beard of Mitzorah is docha the losa. We wouldn't say that, because if you have a way of out of it by using a plane, which is not forbidden, and you're still makayim the mitzvah, we wouldn't allow you to use a razor. So therefore, it must be that the word zikno is the reason the Torah word zikno by Mitzorah is to tell you that it has to be done specifically with a razor, and therefore the razor, because otherwise I would have thought you're not allowed to shave your beard with a razor. But and there's your saras, that's the chiddush. You are allowed to shave your beard with a razor. That's the conclusion of tonight's shir. Hope you enjoyed it. It's probably entertaining or maybe disconcerting to look at me like this, but this is who I am for this week. I don't know every day I'm gonna wear. On Purim, this is my costume. I'm giving you a sneak preview. Stay tuned for Ian Ben Sion, where we talk about malakit for hitni. Talk about something halacha lamaisa that people Masakas Nazir, people have a hard time connecting to it on a personal basis. But everyone is familiar with shaving. Every man, unless you're a Hasidish and you don't touch your beard, most people do shave, and they wonder, can you use a lift and cut? Because that's a question that came up. This new technology that Norelco came out with, I don't know, like 20 years ago. This shaila came up. It used to be, the shavers that most people that from Jews use, Norelco and Philips Norelco, didn't have this new technology of lift and cut, where it didn't get so close to the actual lift and cut. Actually, really, cuts it really close to the actual skin. Before that, it will leave a little hair off, so it wouldn't be exactly like a razor. A razor is the closest shave you're going to get. So we'll talk about that and where it comes up in today's daf. I did mention it briefly in the shir. Ian Ben Sion coming up next.